Hey, family, this is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, this is episode 127, 127 weeks of consistency, 127 weeks of getting it done. We outside giving you good information. What I want to say before we get the episode started, if you have any financial questions, please do not forget to drop it in the comments, or you can DM me at che.willis on Instagram, and then I will read the question and answer it on the podcast. So make sure that if you have any financial questions that I can answer, I will go ahead and answer it on the podcast. So if you are a first time listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's, because we are on the way to the M's. So speaking of M's, when you get them, you need to protect them. So today we have a very, very special guest. We have Paul Deloughery on here talking to us about wills and trust. We are going to get into it. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tay. Good to meet you.
Absolutely. You as well. And Paul, if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and just give us a small snapshot of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get rocking and rolling.
Sure. Okay. So I've been a estate planning, probate, trust lawyer for decades now, and I've gone through a journey, I guess, as a professional. Like I've gone from what I learned, as a lawyer, what I learned, to helping a lot of people, dealing with hundreds and hundreds of really ugly court cases and seeing what actually works and what doesn't work, and what the problem, what the underlying problems are. And I think you and I can get into some pretty good philosophical stuff, because there's some, there's society is kind of in a mess right now, and that's ultimately what's causing a big problem. So
you are absolutely right, sir. Now I always like to ask people just maybe one little question to kind of get the interview started about their background. You said you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
Many people may assume that if you were a lawyer that you grew up possibly well off. Did you grow up well off?
In high school, we had a house overlooking a golf course in a small town.
Yes.
And then when I was 16, my dad died, and my mom then had to sell the house to pay off debts, and she spent years working 2 full-time jobs because she just refused to go into bankruptcy. It was just a principle. And so that's kind of that's the first part of the story. Then years after that, I found out that I actually had a different biological father.
Oh, wow.
And I'd never been adopted.
Okay.
I met him 6 weeks before he died. And then I found out that he had a $28 million estate.
Whoa.
And when there was, that's when the year after, I think 2010 is when there was no estate tax, but this is when half of that money was paid to the federal government for taxes. And so I lost all of that. I was completely unprepared. I was an instantaneous accredited investor. And so I was sought after by all the crazy investment schemes and all this kind of stuff. And, I was
and
just really...
How old were you then?
I was 42.
Wow.
And I'd been a lawyer. I really thought I knew things, but there's... So... because on your podcast, you talk about faith.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can go there. I just wanted to get your permission.
Oh, yeah, go.
So there's a difference between having legal knowledge or listening to Dave Ramsey or something.
Sure.
And having actual knowledge and having the actual ability to manage money. So what I've learned, well, I mean, I learned it very brutally myself, but then I've also seen other people go through this. Like um, there's a difference between earning the money and
Hmm.
keeping it. It's kind of like think of it as double double. Like you have two fights.
Hmm.
Um, you can, like in the military, you have a fight to conquer a country, and then you have to actually keep the country. And
Correct.
or you have a fight to build up some money or savings or investments, and then you have a completely different um, mindset and skill set to keep that money.
Hmm.
And um, so it's challenging. I mean, some people inherit money and do fine, but
Hmm.
the reason, and I've done a lot. I've done years of soul searching about this and trying to figure it out. But the difference is, if you, as a person, if the recipient
Hmm.
is, well, if they're prepared, like it and prepared. um let's see. I
Let me ask you a question real
Yeah,
quick
yeah.
regarding that. When you, and it may tie into what you were going to say. When you I'm sorry, yeah, when your mom or your father or your dad passed away and she fought not to go into bankruptcy, did you watch from afar or did she teach you any principles to try to hold on to money and maintain money?
um she didn't really teach me anything. I mean, I saw what she did, and
Sure.
I mean, what I learned is you just have to work hard.
Yeah.
And there were some other things too, like there's a lot. It's really complicated.
Hmm.
So the human mind is very complicated, and I've had to do a lot of soul searching myself about what. um Well, some of it, honestly, some of it has to do with self worth,
Mm.
and so I, I and I can pinpoint, and this is, I don't know how dark you want to get here, but there was a time in my childhood when um, I felt just very ashamed and little, and I never, like, it's taken me a long time to get over that.
Mm.
And it was totally inadvertent. It's something that my parents did. They didn't mean to, have it happen, but that just kind of snowballed and snowballed, um and so I kind of learned as a child that I wasn't good enough. Um things kind of related to that. I mean,
Sure.
yeah,
But
anyway.
I think too, like, and I talk about this often on the podcast too, is like your parents, I don't know what exactly happened, and we don't necessarily have to go into the fine details of what happened, but um from a parenting standpoint, when they were younger, they got parented a certain way. And a lot of times what happens is they pass down what they learned from their parents to their children, thinking that, hey,
Sure,
well, I
sure,
made out okay. I'm going to do the same thing that I feel like is the best thing for my kids to, because based on the way
sure,
I was raised, because that's all I
sure,
know.
sure,
But the good news is that we we have a choice on pinpointing what we did like in our childhood, and then raising our kids that way. And I don't know if you have kids now, but I'm glad that you did the soul searching that you did to understand, like, hey, this wasn't my fault, but you can, if you have children, raise or treat them differently.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and well, it's so interesting. I mean, you can get really deep in this stuff. I mean, there's epigenetics involved, like
Mm.
there's stuff that, um, and I truly believe that my parents, all three of them, did the
Mhm.
best they could under the
For
circumstances.
sure.
And they gave me a much better childhood than they had. I mean,
Hmm.
they were abused, and like both of
Yeah.
them had stories, and then their parents probably had even worse stories, and so I mean, it's been cumulatively getting better. But um I guess where I wanted to go is, because I talked to you about or asked you about faith.
Hmm.
So there's a, and I can't remember where it is, but there's a passage in the Bible that basically saying, "Thank you for training me for the battle," and it kind of it it seems kind of weird if you just look at it like
Hmm.
they're not talking about like training, like giving you a sword and teaching you how to use a sword. Um, it in Hebrew, the word training is to provoke, like to poke you,
Hmm.
basically to incite you until you get pissed off enough to draw the line in the sand and take a stand and say no more.
Sure.
And so that's the kind of like there's kind of a training involved that needs to be with withholding money too, like um and it's not just here's how you balance the checkbook and make a budget and all that kind of stuff, but there it has to be like it has to be more core or basic, like to the point of I'm worth the money. And but it's not like the it's not just for me to enjoy life, because that's not the purpose of life. It's to um to use it for use it for good, or to better myself, or to better my family and community and all that kind of. So
Hmm.
it gets a lot deeper. And since I figured all this stuff out, it's kind of turned around. But man, it was a wild ride to
Yeah.
to be as a 42-year-old, just getting out of a divorce, and to get a bunch of money. I felt like I was on top of the mountain, and then I got my butt kicked down the mountain, and then to
Yeah.
kind of crawl back up the, figure out, well, how that was weird because I was just up on the mountain. And
Yeah.
and then figure out how to get back on the mountain again. And a lot of it just has to do with, like I said, self-worth and good values and work ethic. And but just having things right. And it's anyway, so there you have it.
Yeah. So before you inherited 28 million, right?
Yeah.
That's a large sum of money. Before you inherited the 28 million, where were you financially? Were you in a good
Uh,
space?
I was paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I was kind of
Okay.
a newer lawyer, and I'd been practicing a few years, but most lawyers don't make a fortune.
No, I'm glad you said that because people, I know when I was younger and the whole thing was, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, somewhere, because you assume that you see a lawyer wearing a nice suit that they make a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that you said that because that's not necessarily the case. And I would assume that that it's time, it's what you're practicing, what field you're in and things of that nature that would bring the money that people assume that you're making.
Yeah.
So, when you inherited the 28 million, what was the first thing that you did?
I I bought a new pair of shoes. No, seriously, that's what I that's the first thing. Well, what I did, yeah, I mean, and then it kind of snowballed, and I had a unhealthy relationship with a girlfriend that had
Hmm.
some uh has some children, and I was like buying houses for her daughters, and like
Hmm.
just stuff that didn't make sense. It was
Let
it was
Let
Go
me ask you
ahead.
about that. Did you feel like you had survivor's remorse? Like, hey, I have it, so now I'm going to take care of everybody that's around me.
That's not really what was happening. What
Okay.
happened with me, so growing up, um there was a fair amount of alcohol abuse
Okay.
in my family. And uh th- uh what goes hand in hand with that is codependency, or
Hmm.
not being able to hold boundaries, not being able to like intentionally. I I mean, for me to survive as a child, I had to kind of um oh squint my eyes, or kind of blur reality a little bit, or be willing to just think that everything was fine, even though deep down I knew it wasn't. That kind
Sure.
of a thing. And
Sure.
so the failure to hold boundaries and stuff was that just kind of came with it. And that's a bad pattern for someone who all of a sudden has a whole bunch of money.
Got it. So, okay, so you get the money, you start blowing it. Did you adopt the patterns of your parents?
Um,
as far as the alcohol? Because I'm thinking if you come into a lot of
oh,
money and you're, even though you know what that path leads to, a lot of times it we pick up the habits of our parents. The
for
truth be
sure,
told, right?
for
So
sure.
so when you inherited a bunch of money, were you on that path to do the things that you saw your parents doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So my next question would be is how did you snap out of the the pattern? How did you do it? Because I know that takes a lot of strength too. Or did you?
I can't really put my finger on like one moment. I mean, it's kind of like going to the gym. There's no moment when you're out of shape and all of a sudden you're in shape. Like
Sure.
it took a lot of um rooting through my past and fixing beliefs and different things like that. So, um just dealing with codependency and boundaries and self-worth and trying to think what else. I mean, it's been a process, but
Yeah,
but
sure.
and so and it the process of I guess my own personal growth. It didn't really have a whole lot to do with money or not money.
Mhm.
The money was a I found that it was a magnifying glass. Like, and I find that a lot. Like people who, whatever their weaknesses or strengths are, having money just magnifies that. So
I agree.
if you're a really careful person and you have money, well, now you're just going to be really careful with money. That's all. But
Yeah.
if you're um, careless or not thoughtful, all of a sudden you have more to be careless and not thoughtful about.
That makes complete sense. And the reason I ask that is because my dad, he passed away a few years back. And before he passed away, many years before that, the doctor told him like, "Hey, if you continue on this road, you're going to die." Like he drank, right?
Mm.
And he stopped cold turkey.
Mm.
With God's help, he was able to stop, and he lived many years past what the doctor gave, like the prognosis that the doctor gave him. So that's why I was asking. I didn't know if there was like a defining moment for you that just happened and said, okay, well, I'm turn the corner. Now, do you have children currently? Very
I
good.
do.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you inherit all this money, and you now are doing wills and trust, probate, right?
Yeah.
And my question to you is, what did you learn from going through the process and the journey of going from not having much money to then finding out that you have all this money, so your kids don't go through the same thing? Like, what did you learn from that?
Uh, well, what I've learned over the years
Hmm.
is that there's almost no relationship between whether the kids will um, successfully receive an inheritance
Hmm.
and if there's a will or a trust. Or so here are the tools that we have. Like the common tools that we have in society right now. You have an estate planning attorney, a financial advisor, a life insurance agent, a CPA. Like
Hmm.
like a hammer, pliers, screwdriver, and a crowbar, or something like that.
Hmm.
And I mean, they're okay for a lot of different things, but um, what's missing a lot of times is something more fundamental. Here, let me explain it this way. So, because I was saying earlier when we first started talking like about society and whatnot.
Hmm.
So um, when I was a young boy, it used to be because I'm a little older than you, but so there used to be like uh, kind of three different layers in society that held the fabric of society together, and there was our aspirations, and we had common aspirations. For most people, it was Jesus. It could also be Moses or something like that, or Superman or whatever.
Hmm.
Like aspirations, and then we had just what's called mores, mores, like commonly accepted ethics or principles. Um, be honest, keep your keep your promises, basic stuff like that. Well, and then the third layer, like the law was supposed to be just a safety net. Like the law was never intended to hold society together. Um, but now we've kind of gotten rid of the first two layers. That's what I see. That's my
Mhm.
interpretation. And we're like loosely held together by the law. And then you have part of society that's trying to even get rid of that, just so we have anarchy, I guess. And it's not working very well. And I think over the next 50 years, things are going to go back again. I see it.
Mhm.
Um, but from a family standpoint, it's kind of the same thing. Like so so it used to be like you had common aspirations like um I don't know, just we as a family, we stand for this, like this is who we are. We work hard, we give to charity, give to the church, whatever. That's like who we aspire to be, and you all go to church together, for example, or synagogue or whatever. And then we have commonly accepted ideas of who we are, and that's just created around the dinner table. Um, but now we've kind of gotten rid of a lot of that stuff, and now it's unless you're all watching the same YouTube channel, like it's it's
I agree.
hard to have commonality. And then the bottom layer is like the legal documents, the will and the trust and everything. Well, just like you can't hold a society together merely with laws. You can't keep a family together financially merely with a financial plan and a trust and a will and a power of attorney. You just can't do it because I mean if there's disagreements or bad communication, if people don't trust each other, they're going to fight. They're going to go to court. They're going to fight each other. They're going to cheat and steal from each other, and you can't solve that with documents.
No,
I,
I would the only reason I say that is because I would think that a legal document would solve and cut through a lot of the, oh well, no, this is mine, this is mine. No, the document says that this is hers, this is yours, so forth and so on. So when you said that, it kind of threw me
it's
off because that's what I always thought.
it's it's not perfect.
Okay.
It's it and it's just like it's kind of like I mean people in the US right now, and most of your audience is in the US, probably, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the majority. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, so most of the people or whatnot what am I trying to say? Um it it's it's different than it was decades ago, just in terms of people communicating with each other and respecting each other and that kind of thing. And with the family, it's sure you can make legal documents that are rock solid. You can do
Mhm.
that. Um, y- yeah, you can do that. But it's not going to solve relationship problems. It's not going to solve your your um your children having disagreements or being jealous or greedy or
Yeah.
resentful of each other or something like that. Um, so that in order to fix that kind of stuff, you need something more than legal documents. I guess that's what I was saying. And the other thing is I see a lot of um, I do a lot of probate and trust litigation, and at any one time we have about 100 cases here of
Mm.
just probate and trust litigation cases, and I honestly don't think there's a relationship between if there's a will or not, and a lot of them, I mean, trust litigation, a lot of them are disputes over trust. So there you have a trust, and it didn't solve the problem.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I think it's never going to solve the relationship issue. Now, my question to you is, do you believe, just based on what you see on a day in day out basis, that it would make sense for the person who is the let's just say me. So if I have multiple people that are in the trust to have a meeting and tell people, hey, this is what's in here. So there's no fighting. There's no arguing back and forth. Is that a good way to solve that?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think if you have the wherewithal to have a trust in the first place, then it would make sense for the people who are in the trust or are going to benefit from the trust to meet with them to tell them, hey, this is what's in it. So there's no fighting because that's what you're trying to eliminate in the first place.
Yeah, and it's so funny. So the uh generations are different. Like um and I'll probably get some hate emails from this, but that's fine. But the, so stereotypically, I think like baby boomers and the generation before, they wanted to just have privacy, and the idea basically is, okay, I'm giving a little bit more to my one child, because they help me more, but and the one really has kind of a drug problem, so we're not going to give anything to that child or something, which is anyway, that's not necessarily smart to do it that way, but whatever. And then the idea is like, just put it in the documents, and they'll find it when I'm dead. Then they'll read it and they'll figure it out. Well, yeah, and I would tell people, I mean, yeah, that's going to lead to it. I mean, it's going to be a big battle, and it would be better for you to just have a talk right now. But then they're thinking, well, if I tell my kid, the one who's not getting anything or the one who's getting less, well, they'll stop coming around then. And like, well, yeah.
If you're not giving them anything, then they're probably not coming around anyway.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so it doesn't really matter,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have a will or a trust and then basically hide it from the people who are going to benefit from it, then you might as well just not have one at all and just let them fight about it because they're going to
Yeah.
do that anyway.
Right.
So let's just
Yeah.
let's just cut
Yeah.
out all the I'm paying the
Yeah.
lawyer here and I'm doing all this.
Yeah.
Let's just cut all that out and just don't do anything at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. So what dollar amount do you think it's a good idea for somebody to have a trust? Because you would think, hey, a trust, I need to have millions of dollars in the trust. What dollar amount, in your opinion, is a good amount to have for a will and or a trust?
I I just think like um if you if you're in a blended family, for
Hmm.
sure, or if you're um oh my gosh, I'm trying to think how to answer that. The, it's not really a dollar amount
Okay.
issue. Like for example, someone just reached out to me, and they're inheriting $2 million, but they're the only child, and I mean, in that situation, there's no will or no trust, and honestly, it's really simple, like, yeah, super simple. And
Yeah.
so the fact that there's not a will doesn't really make a difference. So what matters is if well, if you have children,
Hmm.
that's and married, or if you're not married or whatever, but if you have children, it's good to have a trust, and to have that reviewed um periodically, and to keep your children in the loop.
Yeah.
It is, and to have your children like have copies of it, and so on. Because here's what happens. We see this a lot. Just as an example, as people get older, they gradually start to get dementia,
Hmm.
and so if you read about it, like starting at about age 55, we all start gradually getting dementia. It's kind of scary.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm 57. So
Oh man.
if I fall asleep here, you'll know what's going on. But
So, you
but hold on,
go ahead, go
Tate.
ahead.
What I was going to say though. So the reason I mentioned that is, as parents get older, the kids are off doing their own thing and they have their own kids. And, and then the parents are getting older, gradually get dementia, gradually get a caretaker involved. Sometimes the caretaker and your parent get in a romantic relationship, or, or things kind of get a little bit blurry, and pretty soon the trust gets changed or the house gets transferred, or something like that. And if the kids aren't involved, they're not going to find out about it in time, and so it's that part of it gets really tricky. There's ways to prevent it, but it's honestly that's a big challenge nowadays.
Yeah. And based on the stuff that you went through with your own inheritance and things of that nature, you ended up writing a book, right?
I did, yeah.
And what's the name of the book?
So it's called Lasting Wealth, and um, see, I guess I don't. Oh, I have. Okay, I can grab it, but it's called Lasting Wealth.
Okay.
And basically, I tell the story, and what I explained in the book is what I call the family code of honor. And or it's not that I've called it. I don't think I came up with that, but uh, so that's something that I've kind of run into, and it's helped some other families. The idea basically is just to have some common values and to kind of discuss it, and I've done it with my own um, in my own family, and it sounds kind of dorky. Like I first brought it up when my kids were teenagers, and they thought it was the stupidest thing ever. But but um but actually no, I think it's been helpful. It's really been helpful, and now they don't think it's stupid. Like now, now we understand, and we will talk about, well, this is, we stand for this, and for example, we stay together, or be willing to stay together, obviously, and we stick together. Now I'm not gonna what keep a child from the police if they committed a felony or something like that. I'm not going to do that, um but I mean, the idea is to, like, we always know we have each other's back. That's pretty cool. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lot of families are missing that, like a code of ethics or the way
Yeah,
that they're going to conduct themselves. And I think that that's missing a lot, and a lot of youth out here are lost because there's no family dynamic, and they don't have a code of ethics or conduct.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're kind of being raised by, like you said, YouTube. Like you
yeah.
have a YouTube channel and they're just on YouTube all day. So what are a couple of things that the listeners, if they go purchase the book, that they're going to take away? Maybe one or two things. One or two most powerful things that they'll take away from the book.
So I'm trying to think how to describe this. The one thing I talk about this in the introduction to the book. It's a story. Let me just tell you a quick little story. And I
Yeah.
know we need to wrap up, but so about 15 years after my biological father died, I went kayak surfing at Half Moon Bay in California.
Mm.
It was really cool, kind of crazy. So what happened? The geography there is there's a shelf, and then the bottom drops off. So the
Hmm.
water comes, and then it creates these big waves there. And what my guide, or my the trainer at the time, didn't tell me is, like, just 50 feet out is where, like, big great white sharks are.
Oh my
but
God.
but anyway, here's the thing though. So I got this plastic kayak, and I'm putting it in the water, and you have to, like, strap your knees in this thing, and then you have this one paddle, and you're trying to paddle out there, and meanwhile the waves are just continuing to push you back and push you back, and you have to just pedal like heck. The first time I got out, I don't know, maybe 15 feet, and then I flipped over, and and right there, it's not like blue, beautiful soft sand or whatever. It's basically broken coral. So just like, and I can see this broken coral like just going past my face like this, like
Oh
ah.
man.
And so I get back up, get back into the kayak, and start paddling out. And then so the cool thing, the waves there, those are called breakers. And then once you get past that, then it's more like just calm, just this rolling water. And then past that, then you can turn around and the waves start coming and you can actually surf them, and it's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, so the analogy though is for families, and th- this is um, this is what I guess I wanted to kind of portray to people. So there are families that if they get to like 50 million, 100 million, 200 million of net worth, like they have enough money where they can create infrastructure to to train the children and have teams of lawyers and psychologists and all this stuff to just keep the whole thing together.
Hmm.
Um, Most people don't have that. And so um, what's needed is some kind of a something basically just to hold the family together. And that's where I came up with again, I didn't come up with, that's where I prompted me to talk about the code of honor.
Hmm.
um and it's something to basically keep the family together. And like there's always like each generation, then until you get past like a certain level of net worth, each generation has to like um create well, each generation of children needs to figure out how they're going to find a purpose in life and get resilience and like go through bumps and bruises so that they are toughened up, and so they can um they're going to hold their own and not just sit on a couch eating junk food and collecting a check every month, because that's not a good way to live. But
Correct.
um but anyway, that's kind of the thought. It's a long-winded answer, but just the image, like it's possible. There are families that are able, um, just on their own, to just continuously be successful. It's more of a cultural thing, I think. So
Okay. Okay. And then where do you talk about in the book any of your personal stories or personal
oh yeah,
okay, okay,
oh yeah.
okay. All right, yeah, because I think as the guide, right, for you, guiding people is to have those personal stories in there that'll connect, and I think that's good as a guide.
Sure. Yep.
And you said you do litigation. Do you also form the trust?
Yeah, I do that. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Trust and yep.
Okay. And then where can people, if somebody wanted to work with you, and you're based out of Arizona, correct?
I am. Yeah.
Does that mean that you do you know
So
law in other states, or do you have to be
well,
specifically in Arizona to do that?
So I don't do I don't do the legal work in other states, but I in a network of other lawyers. I can always
Okay.
refer people out. But yeah, so you can look me up on it's a funny name of a law firm, but Sudden, Sudden, SuddenWealthProtectionLaw.com.
Perfect. I'll put that in so people can look you guys up. But nah, this has been good, man. I think that, although we go through, different challenges in life, whether we're going through, childhood and things of that nature, and I believe that everybody has some type of story. The good thing is that you made it out on the other side, and now because of that, you're able to help other people. And again, it sucks when you're going through it. However, if you keep the information to yourself, then that's even worse. But I believe that what you're doing in the book, and then also telling your story here, is going to help somebody else make it to the other side of whatever traumas and different things of that nature that they're going through. So I
Yeah, for sure.
appreciate you sharing your stories.
Yeah, and yeah, if anyone's interested, like basically, so let me just give you kind of a quick idea. So
Yeah.
you're talking like did we grow up in a or what kind of a childhood or whatever? Um, yes, I grew up in a nice house and everything, but
Yeah.
I mean there was Yeah, there is also some dark stuff, and I go into this in the book, like basically like
Good.
family secrets and things like that. So that's challenging, and honestly, if you have money and you also have any level of family chaos like that, or conflict, it's not as simple as getting a will or finding a financial planner. Like, and honestly, like a lot of psychologists don't know how to, like don't know how to relate or do anything. So,
Yeah.
um, uh, yeah. Anyway, so people can feel free to reach out if they think it'd be helpful.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad we talked about that because the reason I asked the question in the first place was because it could go either way. Either you grew up well off, which is great, but there's a lot of things that go into that too, that people think that if somebody's well off, that everything is sunshine and roses, and that's just not the case.
Right.
So but if you didn't grow up well off, then and you're a lawyer now and you're doing well for yourself, how did you do that? And that's another story that you can tell too. So
Mm.
it could have went either way, but
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
I'm glad that it went the way that it did because it gives people a glimpse into other people's lives. And although it may seem like things are great, everything's not always great. And that's a good story to tell as well. So again, I'm glad that you were able to talk about it.
Right.
So, thank you so much, Paul. We definitely appreciate you guys. Hopefully, you guys have gotten a lot of nuggets. And if you do not have a will, maybe it's not $28 million or a trust, and maybe it may not be $20 million, $28 million in your case, but it may be $1 million or $500,000. You don't want your family fighting over the money. So it would make sense to get a will, get a trust, depending on what type of situation you're in. But not just that, tell the people who are going to benefit from it what's in it. So then they're not fighting over because if you don't tell them about it, they just don't do it in the first place because they're going to fight about it anyway. And we don't want that. That's why we're doing it in the first place. So again, Paul, thank you so much. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.